Welcome back. Really lucky today to be joined by Moses Heidenbluth. I know Moses personally. Absolutely incredible story. Pleasure to have you on, mate. So we're going to go right back to the start. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk to me about your life. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was originally born in southeast London in an area called Lewisham. Growing up, it was just myself and my mother. So my father, fortunately, was an alcoholic, disappeared when I was around 5-6 years old. No brothers and sisters. Stayed in southeast London throughout the whole of primary school. And then due to situations that were happening in London with gangs, crime, my mum thought it was a better decision to move us to Sheffield in Yorkshire. So went to Sheffield around year 7, settled into a new secondary school. But my mum didn't realise at the time that the things that were happening in London were also happening in Sheffield. So for me, growing up in school, in secondary school, I had 2 sets of friends. I had good friends that were doing all the right things, getting on with the studies, but I also had bad friends that were getting in trouble, getting involved with stuff outside of school. And unfortunately, I got swayed more into the bad friends and it kind of went a bit downhill.
Yeah. So talk to me about what downhill looks like. Mm-hmm. You're in secondary school.
Yeah.
What does downhill look like for you?
Well, I mean, it kind of started through a friend of mine. So every day after school, I would go to this particular friend's house, play video games, all the usual stuff boys do.
Yeah.
But he had an older brother. His older brother was very well known on our estate where we lived. So as I'm with my friend playing a video game one day, the brothers come in. He's like, Moses, do you fancy making a bit of change right now, a bit of money? I was year 7, so you're talking like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, what do you want me to do? He's literally given me a rucksack. He's like, Moses, go across to a man in the park on the bench. Do not look in the rucksack. Give him the bag. Come back, and I'll give you £50 cash. I thought, no worries. I've done it within 2 minutes. I've come back. He gave me 2 £20 notes and a £10 note. £50. From that point there, I was very gassed. I thought, wow, I've just made 50 quid. I'm calling my mates. That went just straight away.
Yeah.
But what happened from that point, he continued to contact me for weeks and months. So I'm now missing school. I'm meeting this individual. He literally turned me into his drug runner.
But you're getting rich, right?
I was getting rich. Well, I wouldn't call it rich. I was making money, but I was missing education. I was getting involved with a lot of crime. I'm lying to my mum because she was getting letters sent home. I'm telling her, Mum, don't worry about it. I'm in school, And it was later on when I started working in this industry with young people, I understood about the process of grooming.
Yeah.
So before I entered this field, I didn't really think I was someone who got groomed.
Yeah.
But when I look back at scenarios and, how I came into this world, I understood it to be grooming.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I got to around 15 and I thought to myself, I'm sick and tired of running around for this guy. I thought that I had enough knowledge to do this myself.
Yeah.
I also had my own group of friends that were in that same mindset as me, that we didn't care about school. We didn't care about GCSEs. We wanted money, nice clothes, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
So I became entrenched with a local gang. And from that point, things got a bit more serious. So there was a particular situation that happened where there was a party that was going on one night in Sheffield. And this party was in another area where we didn't live. So a lot of the young people class it as like an opposition area.
Yeah.
That's what they use now. So me being me, quite independent minded, no father figure around. I used to think for myself.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go to this party, but my mates didn't want to go. They thought it's going to be trouble. There's another gangs area. I ended up going to the party. I've enjoyed it. I've come out at the end of the night. I'm socialising with my friends. And at the back of the crowd, I'm looking around. I've seen 3 guys hooded up. Now, not something I'm proud of. Growing up, I smoked a lot of cannabis. I was intoxicating my body. My mental health was all over the place. I was very paranoid. So when I've seen these 3 guys, I've instantly thought, okay, what's going on here? Anxiety's kicked in.
Yeah.
Coming over to me and I recognise it's an opposition gang. They got tipped off that I was in their party, not meant to be there. So at that moment, it's now fight or flight. I'll be very honest with you, I ran. Got straight out of there. But the problem I had is that area of Sheffield, I didn't go there on a regular basis. So I had no clue where I was or where I was running to.
Yeah.
I'm now banging on people's doors, saying, please let me in, I'm being chased. No one let me in. So it got to a point where I've run out of breath. They've eventually caught me up. One of them's pulled out like a long bike chain. He's hit me on the back of my head. I'm on the floor. The other guy's pulled out a machete. When I've seen that, my whole life flashed before me. I thought, that's it, game over. My time is now done.
Yeah.
It's caught me on my leg, caught me on my head. Luckily, a local youth worker was driving past. He's now stopped his car. They've scattered off. He's bundled me into his car. He's trying to take me to the hospital. But my mindset again, I was like, nah, forget the hospital, mate. Drop me back to my estate. I need to let my mates know what's going on. And yeah, from that point, things got a bit more serious. There was more violence. A few people, unfortunately, lost their lives.
So a retaliation to what happened that night?
So, yeah, going back to that night, I've gone back to my friends and told them what's happened. Their mindset was, we can't let this slide. We want to get revenge. It's sad to say, within less than 24 hours, they've gone into the local town centre in Sheffield, broad daylight. They're looking for these individuals that had done this to myself, and they come across a young person. If I'm honest with you, he wasn't at the party. He had nothing to do with what happened to myself, but he was associated with this group. Confrontation has taken place. They ended up stabbing this poor young boy and he passed away. So now, when that happened, it was on the news, it's in the paper. My mum has now found out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell my mum what's going on, but she didn't really understand.
How did you explain the bike chain to the head and the cuts, obviously, from the machete? How did you explain that from son to mum? What did that look like?
That was just, again, lies.
Lies.
Just saying, oh, mum, don't worry, I fell off my bike, this and this and this. You know, she didn't really know, like, I got stitched up and that. I was just avoiding her.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point, when my mum's now found out the reality of what's going on, she again has become quite scared. And she ended up moving to Reading. Now, at that point, I didn't move to Reading. I thought, number one, I didn't know where Reading was. Number two, I'm entrenched in this gang life. I can't just kind of like run away, because for me growing up, my group of friends were like my family. You know, I felt like I had a loyalty to them.
Ultimately, some male role models in there as well, right?
Yeah. But again, they're the kind of role models that are steering me down the wrong path.
Yeah, 100%. But you didn't know that at the time.
No, I didn't know it at the time. So now what's happened from there, I've got kind of involved with the drugs world because my mum had moved. Yeah. I'm now staying in certain trap houses. Yeah. Bandos, drug dens.
Explain that. What's a trap house?
So a trap house is, in a nutshell, a drug user's home, generally like a hard drug user. And it's where people cuckoo properties. So that's the professional term, when they literally take over someone's home, use it for selling drugs, and literally, just take advantage of vulnerable people. Yeah. It's not something pretty, but unfortunately that's what goes on, especially now with county lines up and down the UK. There's a lot of young people and vulnerable people, even our age, who are getting used, coerced into living in this type of life.
We will get into county lines, but let's carry on talking about you. So mum's moved out. How old are you?
This is now year 11, so like 15, 16.
15, 16 years old. You've been stabbed, essentially, or cut. You've had a bike chain to the head. There's been obviously an incident after that. You're now in Sheffield on your own, in trap houses. What happens next?
So fast forward, things kind of escalated, but my mum's now contacted me. So the whole time my mum went to Sheffield and I stayed in Reading, it's probably about a 2-year period, let's say. I didn't go and see my mum at all.
So your mum's in Reading.
Yep.
You're in Sheffield.
Yep.
you haven't been and seen your mum at all.
No.
Gets to 17 years old,
Yeah.
17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
The first communication happens, or you've been talking but just haven't seen her.
Yeah, so we're communicating on the phone, but my mindset was I cannot leave my local area and go and visit my mum, you know, halfway down the country, because if something serious happens, people go, oh, Moses, where are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I've gone to visit my mum. That's a normal thing that normal people do.
Yeah.
But when you're involved with that type of life,
Yeah.
you can't live a normal life.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd imagine hard to get out of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult. And, you know, for me, going back to, you know, my mum moving to Reading, she contacted me one time and said, look, still got your whole life ahead of you. Shed Reading's a nice area. Come check it out. See what you think. So I had to think to myself. I went down by myself. This is the first ever time in Reading. And I remember I arrived, I've come out of Reading train station, got my suitcase.
Just for clarity, your mindset at that point is, I want to get out of this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And move to Reading to change.
Completely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I wanted to now move to Reading, change my life, escape all of the traumas, what's happened. And I've come out of the train station. This is the same day I've landed, right? I'm walking through town, and immediately it was different to what I originally perceived in my head. I thought it was like a small little village in the middle of the countryside.
Yeah.
It's quite a big open area. I'm walking through town centre, and I've gone past a local nightclub. It's all taped off by the police. I'm thinking, well, what's going on here? I've asked a police officer what's happened. He said last night a young man unfortunately got killed, got attacked. So I'm thinking, wow, the same stuff that's happening in London, Sheffield, is happening in Reading. I've enrolled myself into college, started a sports course, and I even got myself a job. So I was working in Foot Locker in the town centre.
Nice.
Things were going well, and I made new friends, and I had a very good friend of mine. His name was John Claudes. Until one day, John got a phone call from his auntie that he used to live with. His auntie had an argument with her boyfriend. John, being the type of guy he was, he's like, don't worry, I'll talk to him, I'll sort it out. So he's gone into town, broad daylight. He's gone to meet the boyfriend, and having a discussion about the situation. The boyfriend ended up pulling out a knife. He stabbed my friend straight through the heart. Now, obviously he died, and at that point I've got a devil and angel scenario.
Yeah, of course.
So it's either one, I let the authorities deal with it, they'll lock the guy up, or two, you know, we go out and get revenge, because he had a younger sister, friends, people were upset, and I've gone back into that negative mindset. So I ended up getting kicked out of college. Unfortunately, I got into a fight, and I ended up leaving Foot Locker, and I got myself involved with criminal activity, the wrong people around Reading. Then it kind of spiraled out of control. I ended up now back into the drugs world, which was a real wake-up call for myself, because, not going into too much detail, the substance that I was now dealing with in Reading was not a substance I had dealt with before.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard drugs, crack cocaine, heroin, and I'm meeting individuals dealing with these drugs, and the drug users themselves are completely different to any other type of drug users, right? Which was a real kind of eye-opener for me, in the sense of like, how has someone ended up on this? How is someone living this type of life? And this is what I talk to young people about all the time. When you talk to a drug user and you ask them, you know, what has been your journey through life, how you've ended up on this, generally it's through some type of trauma, or they've lost a friend or family member. Mm-hmm. They've started maybe smoking cannabis from a young age. They've tried ketamine, cocaine, alcohol, and they've ended up in this other world. So when you're in that scenario, you're obviously benefiting from drug users at that time, right? You're in that scenario where you sat there thinking,
you know, this is hard stuff. What are they doing? You're benefiting from it. So you're conflicted, right? But you continue. Were you using at the time?
I was smoking cannabis.
But not doing any of the hard drugs?
No.
Okay.
I've never gone down that route myself. I was only cannabis and drinking alcohol. But again, you know, just seeing how they operate and what they were doing to get this money to pay myself.
Yeah.
You know, some of them are going into town robbing shops and selling stuff. Some of them are robbing their own friends and family.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's mad because I kind of knew this in the back of my head. But I wouldn't say I didn't care, because I did. But it was just a battle of the mind.
Yeah, you're in it, aren't you? So it's difficult. What's the relationship like with your mum then? Because I know how close you are to your mum. What does that look like when you're coming down again and doing the same things that she's been put through in Sheffield?
Yeah.
What's that relationship like? Is it failing, or is it hard? How is your mum?
To be honest, again, this is something that I regret, but again, it was more lies. My mum didn't really have a clue about a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about today until I got into this work. Yeah. So because I was older, I could fog her off, you know, oh, I've got a job, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I wasn't living with her. So, you know, it was kind of easy to get away with. But after a while, I managed to get a bit of work. So I was kind of juggling both and trying to get myself out of that mindset. Got arrested a few times, getting into situations in Reading. So again, I didn't want to fully live this my whole life.
Yeah. But you have been inside. So in terms of your life from 17 to further on, how long were you inside for?
So what happened, this is fast forward, this is like my late 20s. I ended up getting remanded. Now, that situation there, when I got remanded in prison, kind of, again, woke me up. I remember literally when I was on the sweatbox on the way from court to Bullingdon prison, and sat there in shackles, I'm looking out the window, and I'm seeing the whole world just going past.
Yeah.
At that time, I had, I think it was my 3 children. So I had tears. I'm not going to lie. There was tears coming down my eyes. I'm thinking to myself, how have I ended up in this position? Anyway, I've arrived at prison, and what they do is they put you on an introductory wing before they chuck you into the main prison. So on the introductory wing, the second day I woke up, I'm getting a bang on my door. Thinking, all right, who's this? I was like, hello? So matey boy's at the door. He's like, where are you from? So I was like, oh, I'm from Reading, mate. I was like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Swindon. He's like, oh, what you got for me then? Mate, at that time, I was clueless. I was like, what do you mean, mate? I've just got remanded. I don't know what you're on about. Anyway, he's wandered off, and there were some other guys on the wing that I knew. I was speaking to them. So I was like, yeah, this mate, he's knocked on my door. He asked me, what have I got? He's like, yeah, he thinks you've got either a phone or drugs. So some people come in with stuff inserted on them. So I was like, no, mate, I haven't got anything. Anyway, fast forward, I stayed on there for a few weeks, and now it's time to go into the main jail with all the other wings and all the other inmates. So I remember the guards come to my cell. It's like, what wing am I going on? It was like D wing. So I'm asking all the other guys on the introductory where they go in. They're like A wing, B wing, C wing. No one's on D. So I was like, I'm going D. It's like, oh, mate, that's the worst one.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I'm thinking, oh, great. This is not looking good. So the guards come and collected me. I've grabbed my stuff. I'm walking through the jail. As I'm walking through with the guard now, I'm hearing loud chanting, like crazy noise. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I've asked the guard, I was like, oh, what's D-Wing like? She's like, oh, you don't want to know, it's not great. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I've arrived now, and it's social time. So that's when everyone's out their cells, wandering around. And I'm literally in the middle. So you've got like one wing there, and I'm in the middle. Everyone's looking down, fresh meat. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Now, as I'm standing there, someone shouted, "Oi, Moses!" I'm looking around thinking, oh my gosh, is this someone I've got trouble with? Like, what is going on? And he shouted again. I've looked up, and it's one of my mates from Reading. He's come running down. He's telling the govs, get him on my wing, put him on my wing. So I was like, yeah, put me over there, please.
Yeah.
Anyway, they put me on with him. And there was a lot of people from Reading, Wokingham, surrounding areas. And I kind of gathered, that the kind of mindset, let's say, of the prisoners was people from certain areas stick together.
Yeah. That would have been a lot harder, right, if nobody was in there that you knew?
Oh, yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. I was so fortunate that I knew people, but at the same time, not to be offensive, it's not the best of people to know if you're trying to get out of that life. So anyway, I've been padded up with a cellmate. He was from Newbury. He'd been in prison multiple times for drugs. And one night, I'm on my bunk bed, so I was on the top, he was on the bottom. And we're watching TV. All of a sudden, I've seen like smoke coming up. Obviously, cellmates smoke and do certain things in their cell. So I'm sniffing it and thinking, it's not cigarettes, that's not weed. It stunk. I said to my mate, what are you smoking down there? I've looked down and he's a complete vegetable. Like literally just zombified. So I was like, Dalton, that's his name. I was like, Dalton, what's going on, mate? Doing that, I got some water, flashed it in his face, he's not waking up. So now I'm panicking, I'm thinking, what's going on? I banged on my cell, so my mate, who I spoke about earlier, he's on the other side. So I'm like, P, his name's P. I was like, P, my cellmate, he's bugging out, what's going on? He's like, mate, he smokes spice. So spice is a synthetic drug, which is in prisons, and a lot of inmates are consuming this drug, but it's very dangerous stuff. It's made from a lot of chemicals, rat poison, certain things. So in the morning, I've had to say to him, mate, I don't know what's going on in your life. That kind of freaked me out. I'd appreciate, if you don't do that in the cell, do it somewhere else. So he's like, no worries. I had a couple more madnesses in there. So there was another individual who was also from Reading. And he was coming out of prison the next day. The problem that he had is he didn't have any money to his name. He wanted to make a quick buck. So what he's done, he was also smoking spice and he was on heavy drugs outside of prison. He's teamed up with another inmate, I think he was from Thatcham. And there was a well-known drug dealer from London. It's a very big name, big guy. And they had the idea that they wanted to rob him because they knew that he had a phone in his cell. Now, in prisons, phones can be going anything from, £500, £1,000. So when it's opened up for social time, they've ran down to this guy's cell, stabbed him up in the cell. They've locked the doors so that the govs don't have a clue what's going on. They get outnumbered. They've locked the cell, ended up stabbing up this guy, got his phone, and they've then, the guy sold the phone to another inmate. So the way it works, I'll be like, I've got this phone. You would then call your contact who you've got outside, could be your missus or a family member, get them to send my contact £500, they'll confirm, job done. So that's basically what this guy had done. But like I said, he smoked spice. The other guy was also smoking spice. When they went to do this job, they was off their head. The guy from Thatcham ended up stabbing the guy from Reading, his mate, by accident.
Wow.
So he's walked out with this dirty slice down his face. I was disgusting. I've gone in the cell, I saw blood everywhere. And who do you think cleans all this up after?
I've got no idea.
The inmates. So inmates obviously have jobs in jails. If there's blood or some inmates, they get buckets of like piss and poo and they chuck it on govs.
Yeah.
It's our job to clean that all up.
Wow. So I guess this brings you on to the next point. At what point in prison?
Yes, good question.
You're driving to prison, watching the world go by, 3 young kids outside. At what point in prison do you think I need to sort my life out?
Good question. From going there, I knew that this is not right for me. I couldn't have my children come into this cage and see me. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, but me personally, I just couldn't do it. And also seeing and speaking with other inmates, you know, similar backgrounds to myself, understanding their journey, I had a lot of remorse, a lot of regret. And, you know, prison's all about rehabilitation, so they say. I didn't really see it as that. I saw it as more of a business, a revolving door where people are in and out. You know, there's no real help for them. So I planned when I come out that I want to give back to my community, especially for me influencing a lot of people down that negative path. Felt that was important. One of my passions in life is football. So I said, when I come out, I'm going to start my own football club.
Are you a player?
Something like that, yeah. I do play now and then.
Yeah.
yeah. I try.
I mean, everyone I normally ask that to tells me they're decent, Moses. So you can obviously play. You can make up the numbers, yeah?
Yeah, I do I score goals. I do
Okay.
score. I get goals. But I've never played for like an academy. So played when I was younger, local team and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, I wanted to start a football club. So anyway, I've come out and I've gone to probation.
Yeah.
I'm saying to my probation officer, well, she said to me, what do you want to do career-wise? My main thing is I wanted to work with young people. I felt that's what I wanted to get into. Going back to the scenario when I've got stabbed by these guys and the youth workers pulled up, that really touched my heart. And she said to me, you can't. She's literally laughed at me. She's like, look at your record. You can't work with young people. But I was like, I can. I know I can. She's like, no, you can do construction. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I thought, forget these lot. You're not going to support me. And I started work as a bin man. So I was doing the bins. A lot of people were shocked. I've gone from being this drug dealer to now running around in a fluorescent outfit.
How does that look, mate? Because you obviously get used to a certain way of life, right?
Yeah.
You get used to a certain income.
Yeah.
You want to come out and change it all round.
Yeah.
And you know, you go to probation, they say you can't work with young people, which is the passion.
Yeah.
How does that look going from earning silly amounts of money to a binman's wage?
It's a very good question. Obviously, in terms of the amount, it was much less. But for me, the main difference is clean money and dirty money.
Yeah.
Right? You could be making, let's say, I don't know, $2,000 a week from dirty money. That money, you can't use that to go and get a mortgage. You can't use that to make a business. You can't take that to the bank and buy a car.
I guess that's my point, isn't it? Like and I know that's one of the things you put across to young people now.
Yes.
Like that's the point. Although that period was probably tough, earning less, it was clean money, right?
Yeah.
So all them things that you're talking about there, further down the line, you've been able to get.
Yeah, 100%. And I felt guilty as well, you know, giving my mum dirty money, knowing where it came from.
Yeah.
I would rather do a nice clean job and give her far less, but know that I've grafted and I've done an honest day's graft for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started as a bin man. I was on probation and the football club started to flourish. So I started off in 2020 with one men's team.
So Give Back Football Club.
Yep.
Was what you started in the Reading community in 2020.
In 2020. So Give Back Football Club. What I did is I went to Reading Community Trust, who are part of Reading Football Club. Went to them for some support. They loved my kind of idea. I didn't want it to be the standard football club. So Give Back is all about getting involved with other charities around the community and just trying to help people stay in the right mindset, elder people, younger people. And I made a social media page and that's where it kind of got known a lot. So one day I've got contacted by a local yacht worker. So yacht is a youth offending team.
Okay.
Now this lady, I didn't know who she was. I've never met her in her life. I don't even know if she got my number. She's called me up. She's like, hi, I've seen what you're doing in the area. I think it's really good. Have you ever thought about working with young people? I said, yes, but probation are telling me I can't. She's like, oh, that's strange. Okay, I can help you. So I was like, all right. She's then advised me about a charity in London, St. Giles's Trust. I've ended up applying for this charity. She's told me they hire people on lived experience. I didn't even know about lived experience and this whole term. And applied for the role, ended up getting the job, and that's really where my life changed.
Yeah.
Being given this opportunity to now work with young people, what that consisted of was me going up and down the UK every day, doing assemblies, doing mentoring based on my own journey. So yeah, I started at St Giles. I'm doing that and juggling the football club in Reading. So now I was getting very busy. And yeah, that's kind of where things progressed.
Nice. So you went into assemblies, mentoring, St Giles Trust have brought you on.
Yeah.
Life's changed.
Yeah.
How's the mindset?
Oh, the mindset was just so much clearer, better. I just felt a part of society.
Yeah.
It was strange. You know, being in the professional world, normal 9-to-5 guy. Obviously, I had to change some of my groups of friends.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I had friends that were still in that life. But funnily enough, a lot of them was getting inspired by what I was doing. You know, helping some of them change their lives and find other avenues away from the criminal world.
Yeah.
I also had a psychiatrist. So I'm grateful because St Giles provided me with that. I was going through a few personal things in my life, and that kind of really opened me up as a person to understanding myself as an individual, understanding, you know, the traumas that I'd been through that had made me into who I am today.
Yeah.
But yeah, working with St Giles and working with young people, like I said, it was a deep passion, and I'd never thought I'd be given that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was going up and down. I've done a lot of work in Wales, Bristol, Somerset, you know, hundreds of kids I'm meeting.
Give me an example of a young person, either through Give Back, St Giles, story that you have helped and you've seen a real change. You feel like you've made a difference in their life.
That's a good question. I mean, I would say in particularly with Give Back, because the young people, so I've got 2 men's teams now, an under 16s team, an under 13s team. So we've got young people that are involved with the club that were going down the wrong path. Through building relationships with them, we've managed to steer them to go to college, steer them away from trouble, keeping that contact with their parents, their school, and also with story group. So we haven't gone into story group as yet. What eventually happened, obviously we know Thomas, Tank. He's been a good friend of mine from when I moved to Reading. And I said to Tank, I want to work with young people more locally. He was obviously working with you guys at Story. And, you know, he told me about what you guys do. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was right up my street. So obviously I ended up meeting yourself. Sat down, and yeah, that's been a complete new chapter to my life, which is, you know, again, put me in the right path for what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tied in with Give Back, because obviously we're both local in Berkshire. You know, there's kids that know about Give Back at Story Group, and it's inspiring them in different ways.
Yeah. And I, you know, I've seen firsthand the incredible work you've done. You've been doing a lot of work. You know, your story's amazing in terms of how far you've come, but a lot of knife crime, right, growing up. So I know firsthand the work you've been doing around knife crime within schools, the county lines, the drug running, all of that. Tell us a little bit about the sort of impact you've been having on especially secondary pupils going in and doing them assemblies.
So yeah, again, with the assemblies and the one-to-one mentoring especially, we get a lot of feedback, obviously, from schools after I've done an assembly. Sometimes they highlight to me, you know, certain kids that are, you know, they believe are on the cusp of getting involved with these things. I get kids coming up to me all the time as well after an assembly. So, you know, some of these kids, after hearing my story of, you know, how I got groomed into this world, they can relate and understand and see the long-term consequences, obviously, me going to prison. So, you know, the feedback that we get is really great. And keeping these kids on a consistent path is the key thing, because, you know, it's all about having an exit strategy. You know, I think a lot of kids compared to our day are now getting involved with this life. There's literally, as we speak now, 12-year-olds out there delivering drugs, 13, 11-year-olds. So it's making them kind of understand that you can't live this life forever. It's not realistic. This isn't GTA.
Yeah.
What is your exit strategy? How do you want to come out of this life? What is your plan?
Yeah.
You know?
And you're a great example of that, right?
I try to be.
Yeah, and you are, mate. I've seen it.
be.
I've seen the work you've done, and it's amazing. Be the 3 bits of advice you'd give a younger Moses, or young people in the same situation as you. So, with everybody that you work with everybody you're going to work with in future, what would be the 3 bits of advice you'd give to people?
This might sound cliche. 1, listening to elders. I think, in my personal opinion, there's a lack of understanding and respect for authority as a whole from some young people, whether that's their parents or carers, whether that's police, whether that's authority in schools, teachers. If I'd listened to my mum and elder people that really had my back, I would have made better decisions growing up. Also, be a follower. Be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader, not a follower.
Follow the podcast.
Yeah,
but don't be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be a leader.
So yeah, be a leader. I mean, again, I got caught up following the crowd. You know, especially with social media and trends. A lot of young people are seeing things and thinking, "Oh, that's the right way to live their life." But be a leader. If you know something's wrong, don't go down that route.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying, "I'm not on it. I don't want to be involved. I want to go down this route and get a job and go uni." 3rd piece of advice, have a plan. Have a plan of what you want to do in your life, what it is you want to achieve.
And don't ever be told that you can't do it, right?
Yeah, that's another thing. Don't be told by anyone that you can't achieve something or you can't do really what you want to do if it's something legit and honest. You know what I mean? Like, because anything is possible, especially in 2024. For young people, you've got the internet, you've got social media. When I'm talking to young people in my assemblies, we talk about like apprenticeships and the options after. Some young people that I work with, they've already got businesses up and running.
Yeah.
You know, they're working with their parents.
They're smarter now than we were, right?
Yeah, 100%. They're making money, they're building their brand, they're marketing themselves.
Clean money.
Yeah, clean, honest money. So, you know, it just shows that anything's possible.
Yeah,
It's got to put your mind to it.
100%. Mate, last thing I want to ask, I picked up on it throughout speaking to you, about men talking up, right? You're quite a proud man. Yeah. You talk about a psychiatrist, you talk about finally having chats with your mum and stuff like that. What's your advice to people that do keep it all to themselves? How's that helped you?
For me, even this is kind of therapy. Yeah. So, I mean, growing up as a lonely child, just mum, I didn't have really anywhere to turn or options for me to talk to. I had a lot of, obviously, trauma growing up that played around with my mindset and my decision making.
Yeah.
And it was only once I sat down with this lady, it was an elder lady actually they gave me, and I thought, this is so pointless.
Yeah, not going to work.
This lady, she can't relate to me. You know, we're from 2 different worlds. But when she opened up, you know, certain scenarios, and I was very honest with her.
Yeah.
That's one thing I would say. You have to be honest when you're having these conversations. You know, a therapist in particular is not there to judge you.
Yeah. And I suppose from a life of lies, up until a certain point, probably felt nice being honest.
Yeah, because it gave me that identity of knowing who I am and understanding myself. Whereas before, I wouldn't say I was fake, but I was just living a life that I didn't really want to live. I was going down paths, I've got this persona, this and that, but I knew that I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So the therapist and talking really, really helped me. And this is why I'm just so honest now, because I want people to be able to maybe relate or, understand my journey, and they might see it as something that can inspire them to help them through their journey.
Yeah, mate, listen, I've know your story. It's really admirable how far you've come. Be proud of yourself, because I know the work you do firsthand, and it's brilliant. Obviously, the Purpose Playbook gives £500 to someone of your choosing, an organisation, and I know you've given it to Give Back Football Club to buy trophies and stuff at the end of the season. So hopefully that will help. Mate, massive thank you for coming in and telling your story. Really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure all our listeners will love hearing how far you've come and the changes you've made, and the impact you're having on loads of young people. Rich will be coming in a minute. A big thank you to Roofing Matters Group for Daryl and Nikki for donating the £500 for Give Back FC. I know it will help towards trophies and medals at the end of the season for them. So massive thank you to them. Rich will be coming on in a minute to join me, and we'll have a catch up on today's podcast. Welcome back, mate. Wow.
Bloody hell.
What a podcast that was. The wheel's back, which we'll get to at the end.
Yeah.
But what an incredible guy.
Oh, mate. Imagine being told you can't work with young people, but you're that talented and can make that much of a difference. Like,
you imagine how many people are not doing
that's
it.
What I mean.
With the life experience and stuff.
Dangerous word. You can't is a dangerous saying.
Yeah. I think that's a common theme as well, isn't it? Like, I think I've seen Moses firsthand. He's working locally with police, which, I mean, he would have never ever in his life imagined he would be doing.
He does admit that he struggled with it a bit, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He does tell a funny story about when he first went into the police station. He was like, I did not want to be there.
Yeah, but he's an incredible guy, and I know how much around the local areas at the moment he's doing around knife crime and drug running. The thing for me is like the determination in him to one, start something like Give Back Up, and to get into working with young people, like that determination, being told no, you can't do it, and having 30 odd years of not choosing the right path to then get into it is just incredible.
Yeah, it's also the environment. He's clearly a lovely guy, lovely guy, good heart, means well, quite a purpose-driven dude. But I can imagine as a youngster, surrounded by the wrong people, you lose all of that and you start doing things that were never meant for you anyway, you know?
Sometimes I'd say no as well, right?
Of course it is. And also I put here, even when you want to escape this life, it's very difficult to do it. Like, it shows how hard our young people at Story actually have it, because, some of them have similar stories to Moses. And it's, I also think that the work that he does is some of the most important work, because he is shaping the future of young people. He is quite literally like diverting them onto different paths, showing them a different way.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Like from all of our guests that we have on, it's all different stories, isn't it? Right, and he's delving into the people that will end up in prison unless they change their life. And I think what we know from that is prison's not the place to go.
I mean, I wanted to chip in and ask a few more questions around prison, because I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
That environment just must be the worst. I also put here, some people watch Top Boy, some people live it. I think those two things are very, very different.
Yeah. I'm not sure prison would be for me.
Or me,
if I'm honest. D-Wing is not the one.
I mean, he was laughing when he said that story.
Yeah.
That's giving me major trauma.
Yeah. Right. Shall we spin the wheel?
Yep, we can spin the wheel.
Embarrassing personal story was last time.
Yep.
So we will see what we get this time.
This better not be about me. Oh, you're doing it, are you?
I'll do it, yeah.
Good. What's that saying?
Prisoner training assistance dogs. Now, what a lovely story to finish today's
Right, just
on.
the caveat to this is that I've never, I'm not sure how good this segment is, if I'm honest. I don't know this story. So, the lovely Gemma has put this story together. She found it. It's the reason that we're doing this is to leave this podcast with a bit of joy in the world.
I think one day Gemma should spin the wheel because we talk about Gemma a lot, but
she doesn't want to though. We did worry that it would, she'd be like a little bit like a showgirl, what they called like a assistant, I don't know. I'm ruining this podcast. Okay, let's get on with the good news story. So, prisoners becoming assistance dog trainers. What they called Restart Dogs, based in the UK, have launched a vocational program that trains adult offenders to become assistance dog trainers. Okay, so this is like guide dogs? Cool. Okay, so they raise and train the dogs, they teach them skills, it's paid for by the Prisoners Fund, raised by work that prisoners do whilst serving their sentences. So usually takes 2 to 3 years to train assistance dogs, but this time is being massively reduced thanks to this program.
Amazing.
So how does that tie really nicely into the podcast itself?
It ties really nicely into it, but we will work on that segment because hopefully we can hurry Rich's training up on how to read them cards better. Or maybe he'll do a bit of work before the podcast and read the good news stories.
I was told not to read the cards, so don't land me in that one. Also, I don't want to say it, but sometimes Gemma's writing, neat it as it is.
I know.
Yeah, it can sometimes be difficult to read.
Maybe we should get Lucy Spencer back in here to teach Gemma how to write.
Yeah, we could do. She's going to kill us. So, on that note, lovely little story to end the day. Ties really nicely. It's like we scripted that, but I promise we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, you'll know we didn't because I just absolutely messed it up.
Guys, see you on the next episode.
See ya.